Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika, and here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And today, the topic is all about borrowing from other people's spiritual practices. Um, but, excuse me, before I get into that topic, I'm already having to clear my throat. And I have all my notes here about this. I just want to let you know down in the description, there's a link for our Discord channel here for Leap Taking. I don't know what's going on. I just finished a cup of tea. Allergies. Oh, anyway, so I have a Discord channel where I'm basically starting Leap Taken's virtual coven. So you'll see the link there. Go there, explore a little bit. And read the rules and the welcome and all that sort of stuff. So you know what to expect, what it's going to be like. And, just prepare at this point to share, chat, say stuff, introduce yourself. There's a space for that as well. I'm not overly familiar with Discord, I'll be honest with you. So I'm going to use it the way I intended. If you are familiar and I'm not quite using it the way you think I should, that's cool. If it's something that can help me, drop a comment, let me know. But, it's a learning experience for me as well. But the point is, it's just a platform. The people, it's what matters. So go ahead and join if you're interested in joining this virtual coven. All the details and what it's about, again, will be in the messaging. So you're going to have to read it. And I think I'm going to be able to insert a video or something in there shortly as well. Either way, go check it out. Go to the invite. If you don't like it, it's cool. You don't have to be there. But if you are interested, please, linger and be a part of it. So that's that. That's the virtual coven, Leap Taken's virtual coven. So there's that. I'm really excited about that, by the way. But anyway, borrowing from other spiritual practices. So disclaimer, these are my opinions. Okay? These are my opinions. Just like everyone else has an opinion on the subject. I can share my opinions. If you disagree, that's fine. Just keep it respectful. I'm okay with someone leaving a comment and they don't quite agree with me as long as we're all respectful. Hopefully we're adults and you're watching this and you don't have to feel the same about everything. And if you'd like to express, what you disagree about, I'm comfortable with that. Like seriously, this is not about everybody just agreeing with the way I see it, okay? And the way I see it is a little complex. So here we go. Honestly, on this topic, I have mixed feelings. I really do. The way I feel, if I'm told no to a closed group of spiritual practice, if I was told no, then I'm going to respect the no. If I chose to still find another group who does the same spiritual practice and they invited me in, I understand that, or I would understand that everybody is not for me being in this, in this close spiritual practice. I've already ignored the first group and now I'm on another one. I may have to take all that comes with that. And I would have to you have to be fine with that. I would not argue. I would not go back and forth. I would not say to somebody, what they should or shouldn't do as far as opening up, what's considered a closed practice. I would not go back and forth. Honestly, me personally, I don't think I would actually find another group in that practice. I would reevaluate why is it so important for me to join this practice. But that's me. Now, understand if that's how you're doing things. If you are the person that I just described, if you are practicing in a closed group and close to you, understand there's going to be resentment. Just point blank period. It's going to be resentment. People who are not even associated with the original group, just people in general who see you practicing. So to put a better frame on it, if you're a white woman and I could tell that you've been initiated and, if I, upon further, look, maybe the person initiated was also white. And yeah, me as a Black woman of African descent, I will kind of look twice because I'm like, that's interesting. What's going on over there? It doesn't mean I hate you. I don't think you should exist and all that sort of stuff. It's not about that. It's not hate. It's more like, what's going on over here? Why, what's going on? I would be thinking, what's going on over here? That it would catch my attention. Um, just know that there's some reconciliation that you're going to be doing if you are, again, and I'll get to variations on this topic, but again, if you are a white person and you're practicing spiritual practices that, one, people are telling you are closed, and on top of that, ancestral work is a big part of it. If you feel, I mean, because some people are going to say, I know it sounds crazy, but I've been led here to do this. This is what I feel I really should do. Okay, I'm not going to fight you about that. If that's what you say, that's what you say. However, just understand that the first part of what you should be doing more than anything is you got to do some like serious work with your ancestors. You got to come to some kind of meeting of the minds, because I'm trying to understand, how are you reconciling that part? If I mean, to me, it's just a lot of work that would have to be done with the ancestors before you could really progress on that path. That's just how I think. Like, there has to be a lot of work. And the interesting thing about that is I know there are witches who are white, um, that I have, well, some over the years personally I've known, and then in the YouTube world, who said they prefer not to do any sort of ancestral type thing because they don't desire that connection with their people, for various reasons. A lot of them have a lot to do with, it could be personal, it could be, what they know about their family line, and they're like, no, they want to start anew. And I completely understand that. So I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about those who are intentionally wanting to be in these closed practices. There is a crap load of work you have to do with your ancestors, again, and I just feel like it's just an uphill battle. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't think you can ignore that and just jump into everything else. Just saying. Those are my thoughts on that part. Now, this is not necessarily a black and white issue, so I wanted to get that first part out of the way. There's a discussion about spiritual practices among European-based traditions as well. I didn't realize this, but I've been, purposely keeping my self open to this as I read about it and hear about it in other spaces. And I know that that is actually true. It's not maybe hyped up, but it's a thing. It's a thing. Basically, within the witchcraft community, let alone pagan community, let alone spiritual community, um, there's a lot of, oh, you can't do this, or, we want to stay over here. We're not even going to get into the whole thing on the term gypsy and how that's considered a slur. But the problem is not everybody else realizes that's considered a slur. Marketing companies, for instance, don't know that because they still market using that type of, that terminology, gypsy soul or something like that. I think even one of my happy planners has said something about gypsy soul or some wild free gypsy soul, something like that. Um, I don't. I know these people don't mean it intentionally, because honestly, I didn't know that the term gypsy was considered a slur until recently. Somebody said it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to keep going with it just because I'm ignorant to it. But even within those, those who I guess would be considered gypsy or Romany and things like that, I understand, well, if you understand the history of, what that's about and why they had to migrate and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, the point is, um, culture is typically tied in with spiritual practices. And when you're talking about basically not people of color, right? Culturally speaking, there's a lot of colonization as part of most of our history. Find me someplace you don't see that. Whether it's obviously parts of Africa or majority of Africa, whether it's in the islands, if you go down in the Caribbean, whether it's India, or where there are people who are brown, basically, there's a story of colonization. And that's like the interruption of the people's history, the people of that place. And, like I said, religion, spirituality is part of culture. And the problem is it feels insulting to a lot of people. Notice I just didn't say this is a black and white issue. This is an issue, for instance, okay, when my when I see I like yoga, practicing yoga. I don't do it often enough, but I enjoy it. Okay. I like the way I bend my body move, but I understand the spiritual significance of that because contorting my body in that way, I have to kind of reach inside and find this place so that I could pull these moves off and it makes sense and it resonates with me. It's the whole, mind body experience, soul experience, spirit experience. Um, so I can just instinctively, I can understand there's more to it than just doing some poses. Where honestly, and then the conversations about chakras and things like that. Um, I think if you're going to take these practices, I do believe that you should be knowledgeable about the entire piece and don't just take what you want. It's okay that that's the part that resonates with you, but I do believe that you should at least educate yourself on the totality of why that's important and where this is coming from, especially if you're not those people, if you're not of that culture, if you weren't born that way, basically, if you're a white woman, or honestly, quite frankly, if you're a black woman as well, I think that you should be more knowledgeable. It doesn't mean that you need to go around spouting it, but if the conversation came up, you would be able to have that conversation and explain to people, hey, if someone asked you, oh, well, let me explain to you why we do this and where this came from. To me, it just shows respect. It's just a level of respect that you're showing to the culture, to the spiritual practice, and so forth. Um, but the fighting in between or disagreements of, you can't practice this, you're not from here, you can't do that, because I have seen over time, because I've been doing this witchcraft thing for some time, and I have seen, when in spiritual practices that are, I guess, considered Celtic, if you're black, sometimes people didn't want you there because they felt like, what are you doing here? You don't need to be in this space. This is not for you. Okay, is that right? No, I don't. I don't think it's right to make somebody feel bad, regardless of the situation. Um, at the same time, I can't help but understand why these people might feel the way they feel on some level. Like I said, this is a complex issue. I empathize honestly on both sides. I really do. Um, I think it's a more about history than anything else. I really do. I just think it's more about understanding history, and not being taken in by just what you see, in the moment, the pretty poses, the background, the aesthetic, and so forth. Like, just make sure you're knowledgeable about whatever this practice is that maybe your people are, it's not indigenous to you. You know what I mean? Or you're not indigenous to it. I would just say I can't emphasize enough about being respectful. And the thing about being respectful is it won't look the same. Everybody won't perceive your respect the same way. Because I understand that you could bend over backwards trying to explain. Prime example, I don't know her name, but I know she's a woman with a little weight on her. She's black. She's, for lack of better words, they would say she was fat, right? And she does yoga poses, and I know she had an Instagram. There's a couple of them out there like that. And she's just showing, how she can move her body, fat or not, with the extra fat on it or not. And I understand that people would look at her and say, oh, well, she's not doing that right, because it's not always about color or anything like that. Oh, it could be about body too, fat shame, or just having it, fat phobia. People don't like the idea of, someone who is considered fat moving and, contorting herself that way and showing the other fat women that, oh my God, we can do this too. People, I don't know, we got this thing culturally where we just want to punish fat people. I don't know. It's sick. I hate it because I have gotten fat and I don't like the way that, even in a spiritual practice, people will treat you funny. That's the crazy part about it. Like, the fat thing is crazy. We've got to come to a reckoning about that as well. But anyway, so The issue again comes down to, again, it's a complex one, because if you come to me and I'm someone who practices, an African traditional spiritual practice, right? That's considered closed, and you're somebody, you look white to me, but you're saying, "Oh no, in my ancestry, there are blacks in our ancestry, right? There are black people. I'm descendant of, and you can tell me, uh, so what? So technically, isn't that your claim? In the same way, me, and like seriously, I've done my ancestry DNA, and I know that I have Wales, uh, or DNA that is from the area of Wales, Ireland as well, and the UK or Britain. um, so the numbers are not as high as the Nigerian, but it's in there. It's in there. It's 25% to be exact, about around 25%. So that's about a quarter. So I'm about a quarter white. So I'm thinking, okay, or European. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, that's my ticket, that's my in, that's my pass, so that I can do other things. I mean, I really think like that. Seriously, I do think that way. So if I think like that, wouldn't someone who is, not mostly Nigerian, not mostly African, they don't look, like they have black in them, but they do, and they feel, called to this practice. Um, so do I refuse them because they don't look black? That's where it gets complex, guys. And then what if you got somebody who was mixed with a lot of things? You know, uh, not everybody is just mixed with white. Some people are mixed with, you know what I mean? They got a little bit of, maybe they're part Japanese, maybe they're part, this, that. I'm just saying it's not a straight mix, but they feel called here. The point is, who is the gatekeeper? Who gets, well, I guess the individual groups, but I feel like this is a case by case basis. I don't think that we can just say, if you're white, you're out, because just like I know that these white people can't say, if you're not white, you don't get it. You don't have access. So me, with my brown skin, I don't have access to, the Nordic pagan practices and things like that, even though there's a small amount in my DNA ancestry that places me, having access, or being related to that region. So technically I do, but I may not be accepted, right? I don't think this is going to be worked out. I don't think I mean, I'm bringing a conversation up, just something to think about and to share my opinion, but I don't think this is going to be worked out anytime soon. Um, we have these strong opinions, a lot of us, on who's accepted and who's not. So am I supposed to walk around with the app of the ancestry DNA to prove to people? And they say, well, that's not enough. Okay, so I guess I can't do it because it's not enough, but I felt called to it. No, no, I wouldn't like that either. So I don't know. This, like I said, this is a very sensitive topic. And I think you have to have sensitivity around the topic, but at the same time, being very honest, like what I'm doing right now, and just giving these sort of examples. On the flip side, if I was working to be an initiate, if I wanted to follow what the reader I had about a month ago told me to do, and let's say I followed up, and she said, okay, well, come over, here's our, the person that will guide you through the process, and it's like a white man, I think it would floor me, and I wouldn't want to do it. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't want to do it, not under him, because I would be like, no. No, it just, how are you going to teach me about this? And I'm just being totally honest. I would probably feel like I don't want to come back. I don't want to do this anymore. It would just feel very strange and bizarre to me, if it was a white man. And I'm just being honest with you. So that's why I said I get how people feel on both sides. It would be a deterrent for me. I probably wouldn't follow up. Um, if I followed the small percentage and I, found groups and people and they were practicing, like I said, the Nordic pagan path, I would probably, and I saw mostly Black people, I would probably be taken aback. I'd stay long enough because I want to know why. I got questions. So I'm going to ask some questions first, especially if it's more than one of us. But I probably wouldn't continue on. I mean, I think it would be cool. I'd probably like stay friends, but I probably wouldn't follow because I'd be like, huh? I don't know. And this is somebody who's making videos, who shares what she does. It would just throw me a little bit. And I'm just putting it out there, being honest. This might not be a popular opinion, but I'm just telling you how I would feel about it. So now that I'm telling you where I stand on this, um, I be respectful, guys. If you, again, I don't think it really matters unless you make it public. Unless, not saying that you have to hide, but unless you make it a thing that make sure, social media, you make sure publicly everyone knows that, this is your spiritual practice and you're not you're not a person of color, or you are a person of color and it's predominantly not for people of color and so forth. I can understand the please understand. No, I can understand, but you probably need to understand. It might not be all love from everybody. A lot of people will have adverse reaction to that. They might not agree. But if that's your calling, that's your calling. Um, Again, back to, so what's a resolution to this? Quite frankly, I don't think there is any. I don't. Just like I don't think there's a resolution to racism, and I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that idea that it just goes on and on and on, but I think it will just go on and on and on. There's something not, I mean, honestly, in my real opinion, and I'm going to sound real out there, but I think some of us are not from here, this planet. I think some of us are from different places, and I think some of us just have this innate ability, humans, that is, this thing where we just can't seem to mesh with the other humans, the other humanoids. And I think that it's generational, it's being passed down. I know they say racism needs to be taught, but there's so many other conditions that can go into making somebody biased, racist, or even afraid of people of color just because they're different. No, I don't see it ever going away. And I know that, a lot of people want to believe differently, but I don't. I think people will play nice, because there's something on the line, but I don't see it ever really going away. I don't. Not in my lifetime, not my children's lifetime, probably not in their children's lifetime either. Um, I do want to end this part of the topic with this. Until there are reparations, until there is atonement, um, to quite a few people of color across the globe, that would be a great step before people feel comfortable with opening up their spiritual practices for those, for others. I think that will, I think that would make a huge difference. Honestly, I think that would help. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of hurt and disrespect over hundreds of years. Like I said, colonization is a trip, and it's left dirty symptoms and side effects of that. Colorism, and that's not even amongst Black people. I mean, have you seen what's going on with Indians as far as with colorism? So it's not just us. And Asians in general. Colorism is a thing with people of color, and it is a nasty leftover remnant from colonization and slavery. Um, I would say this. I hope to continue to expand on this. As personally in my own practice, I hope to expand and to learn more and to understand more, and that will just happen through experiences. I gave the example about, if I wanted to become an Ifa initiate and I saw a white person, as time goes on, maybe I'll feel differently. I'll expand my views on this. And I'm open to that. It's not like I'm sitting here like, oh, this is the way I feel and that's it. I'm never going to change. I may open myself up to something different. Um, it is what it is with that one. But again, I just kind of want to point out what you do when your home is your business. No one technically can tell you to stop. I would just be concerned with the energies that you are working with, because if you don't know and you're probably working unguided without a teacher because you couldn't find anybody because they told you the group was closed, this practice was closed, you might fall victim to some unnecessary things that you shouldn't have to go through, but because you don't have the proper guidance. So I would just question whether or not, I need to continue on that path. Honestly, I would. I would. And just to kind of put it into a more personal perspective for me, I know that when I first started with Wicca, that's how I first got into witchcraft, was Wicca. I wanted to have this relationship with a god and goddess, just like the books said, right? The books would say this, the god and the goddess. And I felt nothing. I never felt it. It just didn't feel real to me. It felt like I was playing make believe. So I just didn't. And even though I really wanted that experience, nothing was happening. And that went on for many years. So if you feel this connection, that's fine. Do the research, read the books, watch some YouTube channels or whatever else, social media, follow people, stock up on the information. Sometimes it's not your time to act. Maybe it was just meant for you to know the information. I think me with runes. I early videos I talk about understanding runes, and I was so interested in it. I felt called to learn more, but I never really completed anything more with it. Every time I would try, I had a rune chart in my book Shadows. I made rune. I did a whole thing. I bought some starter runes, and I would try. And I was like, why am I just not doing this? It's not laziness. I'm here. I'm ready to go. And I just think the reality of it is, it was meant for me just to understand, maybe for a greater purpose down the road, and it'll all make sense. But for that moment, I just needed to understand it. And it's okay if your calling is simply just to retain the knowledge and to understand. Maybe you don't have to become an initiate, or maybe you don't have to devote your life to this particular path. Maybe you just need to know about it and learn about it and have respect for it. You could be completing, being part of something maybe from your ancestors, as some level of atonement to understand these people and to, maybe offer them something, or I don't know. Um, I don't think everybody white who wants to, who says they feel called to traditionally African-based spirituality are horrible people. I don't think they're out to just take something from the blacks, the Africans. No, I don't think that's the case in all scenarios. And deep down, we all know that, right? Just like I don't think that when you see a black person and they are full into Wicca or Celtic type based spiritual paths, I don't think they're lost and confused and they need to be with their own people. They've turned their back on their roots. No, I don't think that either. Because things are a little bit more complex. Like I said, you could be looking at somebody who looks just like me, and their mama's white, and and that was the tradition that made sense to them because that was their brought in. That's how they were brought in. You don't realize that because just the way melanin works. And vice versa with the situation with someone who looks white, but maybe they're, like I said, their father's black, or they have African ancestry in their line, and they're a direct line. And even if they don't, but if they feel called, if I think again it's a case by case basis. You got to look at the individual. Let's understand what's going on with you. Let's talk about your path. Let's talk about your ancestors. I would want to know more. I wouldn't just turn them away. That's just I would want to know more. before I just said no. I would want to hear what's their story, and get a better gauge on the situation. But that's me. This is an uncomfortable topic, I'll be honest with you, because you want to, me personally, I like to stay fair minded. I want to, look at everybody and just look at the soul, look at the individual. But, I'm a Black woman living in America in 2021. We just had more hate crimes than ever. I, weep for the people, the Asian community right now. They are having the police officer who had his knee on the neck of George Floyd, as that trial is happening. Um, and they're arguing, it was just he was high in adrenaline, and that's why he died. And we all saw the video. Like, these things are very much in my mind. Not to mention my own personal experiences, just being a Black woman. So this is why I get things on both sides. I've met some wonderful uh, people who are of all races, honestly, some Asians, white, Hispanic. Well, I was living in South Florida, so I know a lot of people from the islands, Haitians, all different types of people. And, I like that. I like being able, I don't know, who wants to be around one group of people all the time? I like to know about other people's cultures, experiences, and it enriches your life. So I think that's a positive thing. I, However, at the same time, before I can open my mouth, before I could say who I am, what I believe, people just see, my skin, and people make decisions about me from there. So I'm fighting against the perceived idea of who I am just from the looks of me. And that one's tough. That's tough. I don't get to explain, hey, I'm a witch. You can't be offended that I'm a witch because you just see, Black, and you're not getting past that part. Um, and spiritual, I'm talking about within spiritual groups and spiritual practices. So, I will just say this. It's difficult to stay fair and balanced when so many people in so many spaces don't see it that way for you. And my husband and I are very adventurous. We get out, we'll see something, a group they're doing such and such, and we'll say, oh, we'll go with that group, and we'll be the only Black people, and we'll just go and we'll have fun. And most people are like, wow, you guys, they think it's great that we showed up not knowing and not being from here, and people have typically have received us well. However, even in those groups, you'll still find people who are very reserved, and they make comments not realizing how incredibly insensitive it is. Oh, I didn't know Black people did this or something like that. And like, we're grown people, like over 40. You get those types of questions. And I know no one's trying to intentionally be mean or to make us feel bad, but at the same time, shut up. You don't want that either. It's like, you're too old to be this ignorant. And my job in life is not to school people on race, and understand I'm a human. Why wouldn't I have interests? I'm human. I'm always in a position where I'm made to feel like a other. So I don't like the idea of people making other people feel bad and telling them, if this is something that in their heart they feel like it's the right thing for them to do and for them to follow. I'm not comfortable with somebody being made to feel like, less than, because I know that feeling. However, as part of the group who, are considered the minority, um, I'm not exactly a fan of people kind of coming in, because a lot of people come in and they take over. Kind of like in the experience, like if you want to take a yoga class right now, who's teaching a yoga class? What nationality, what ethnicity is teaching a yoga class in most areas that you go? We already know that, right? Um, there are billions of people. Yeah, they understand how to do yoga too, but anyway, um, it's a sensitive topic. It's a sensitive issue. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. As you can see, I told you, I feel like is a case by case basis. It depends. Like if you told me about your story and you told me, yeah, I wanted to, I felt called, I was practicing with this group or I wanted to practice with this group and they said no. And here, because I'm not indigenous and da, da, da. And then I would just have to look like, well, if they said no, they said no. Like I would have to just respect that. It might hurt my feelings a little bit, but I would respect it because, okay, I get it. And, you know, maybe look into other things. I don't know. Or maybe if I really felt that drawn, I would probably go to a different group of the same practice. I don't know. But I'm just grateful that I know where I stand. I'm grateful that I have my cottage witchery. I'm grateful that I still work in ancestral reverence. I'm grateful that I still, bring in hoodoo. I bring in bits of leftover from Wicca as well. And I've reconciled all of it. And I'm very grateful to that. So, yeah, that's the video, guys. So thanks again for watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys feel about this. Like, subscribe, share. Again, I'm Mika. This is Leap Taken. Thanks again. Bye-bye.